Okay, now it's recording. Hello. Hello, hi. I forgot to press record as I press start streaming. My bad. And I also have my mouse right here too. So hello. Welcome in. I am Skychild. Soon to be under a different name. I'm still thinking about it, but the change is most likely still going to happen. I have no idea where my co or I almost said my co-star, my guest. I have no idea where he went. I heard a voice in the background, and then like, hey, I'm recording a podcast, and then, well, now I only see his ceiling right now. But, but baby, you haven't seen anything yet. But I'll tell you something. I'll tell you something you'll never forget. That Boba baby, you ain't seen nothing yet. That's what goes on in my head all day, every day. But yes, hello. This is the second episode, the second edition of Suffering Out Loud. I don't need my touch there. Okay. Today, I'm going to be focusing on. I can't even focus on anything right now. Cue the theme song. I was thinking about like making a theme song for this podcast. Not making one, but choosing one.
Damn.
And I was like, the song I want to use, I can't really use, probably for copyright reasons. So like, Tabs, welcome back. Hello. And Black Cat. Hello. They could just be aware. We're streaming right now, so your voice came through quite thunderous through the living room. I mean, the camera and the Discord call, to be honest, is not as important as the stream can see me just fine as my point. Good talk. Oh my goodness. Thanks, Pimp. I appreciate it. And hello. That was a nice way to say hello. I'm doing okay. Sleeping the past 2 nights hasn't been the greatest, but everyone has those days, those nights. Love you too, homie. Love you too. I appreciate it. Thank you for coming. So to kind of like give you a rundown of what happened this past week. Wow, I almost don't remember a lot of it. I do remember though, this past Wednesday, you may have seen like a ping in my server for like, hey, I'm gonna be playing on the radio in like 15 minutes, and that just never happening. I struggled with the password for a good hour, for a whole hour, trying different variations of it, and because my memory is terrible, I definitely did a lot of them multiple times, and none of them worked. So like an hour and 15 of when I would have been playing, I would have been live, I kind of just gave up. I asked for help from the founder. I asked help from a DJ who had played recently on in the week, and that DJ didn't give me exactly they didn't give me the answer I needed. And I was like, they told me this is what it's supposed to look like. And after a little more confusion, if there's any other help, here's the channel in the Discord that explains it all. I was like, thanks, buddy. I knew my password was the problem, but I don't think they fully understood that, which was a little bit of the problem. A lot of us have smaller issues. I don't know where that came from, and I don't know why I decided to say that out loud. But it is a relatable statement. I would have done that. I definitely would have like reset my password if I could, but all the passwords are safe with the founder. So if we want to change it, we would have to ask him first. And he's all the way in the UK, which is like a 6-hour difference from here. So when I was struggling with this at like 11 p.m., it would have been 11 p.m. He definitely would have been asleep. So out of embarrassment, I added another ping. No, I added a message under my ping. I am a failure and a disappointment. As a reminder that is what I am, but also the embarrassment of being so excited for something I wanted to do forever and just failing. Because I took notes. I took notes when he asked me, he was walking me through how to set it up. And I had, for some reason, only the second half of my password. I had the password, I just didn't know quite what goes before it. And I missed 2 hours of radio time on it. And he came into my chat yesterday and like joked about it. Like, have you lost any more passwords lately? What a legend. That was so funny. And after he sent it again, I told him like, alright, I screenshotted it this time. And in all caps, a pen and paper also works. That was just, man. I'm glad he's probably not too upset about it, because it happens to a lot of people. It does when you just happen to forget your password. However, I still feel terrible. That is such a basic thing to forget. I forgot. So I'm not gonna let myself live that down. Engraved metal. I love the enthusiasm. That's about it. I just love the enthusiasm. If someday I forget the password, it's engraved in metal, so now it cannot be destroyed. I will always remember it since it is engraved in metal. Forget ever changing it because it's engraved in metal now. That's what it will be for the rest of time. And as for the rest of what I remember this week, or from this past week, I did a stream for 6 hours. I meant to play music because that's what I really, really wanted to do. But of course, Tabs was there. She can confirm that I basically talked for like minimum two of those 6 hours. Not in a row. I was just telling a lot of life stories. Which honestly, I'm gonna get that VOD and save it to like my external hard drive. I don't want to watch the music part of it. I want to look back on all the really dumb stuff I probably said. All the dumb stuff. I can't wait. I'll look at it. I'll look back at it again someday. Yeah. Thank you for confirming. Definitely a lot of tangents. Gotcha. And don't I muted Discord, so like I didn't. Don't worry, they didn't hear that. Oh, wait a minute. Did you leave the call? That I would. Jesus Christ. I thought I was gonna be like talking for like probably 5 minutes, and then we can get right into it. But it is what it is. Thank you. I appreciate it. I have a lot of them, especially in the state of mind. Things just pop up, and I'm like, I gotta talk about it before I forget it. The way I see it, it's kind of like my brain is in a fog where I can see my immediate thoughts, and then like a few minutes later, I'm gonna forget what I just said or talked about, and then maybe 10 minutes later, I'll remember it. And it's a constant cycle of remembering and forgetting all while I'm talking at the same time. It's great. It has been fantastic. Um, if I could reach my notebook, I would get into what I was talking about, what I talked about. And you know what? I think I will get my notebook. I have two of them with possible sky lore within them. One definitely does, but the other one I didn't show on stream because I didn't think to even touch or talk about. All right. Okay. So while we were waiting, this notebook right here. I should have. God damn it! I should have grabbed the other. God damn it! I should have grabbed the other notebook too. So ignore the existence. God damn it! Ignore the existence of that first notebook. We'll go with what I. Love you too, Kat. I appreciate you. Thank you for sticking around and stuff. Without viewers like you, I would make no money. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Yeah, brain fog is it. I'm gonna have to close the window. I'm sorry. I keep remembering things a little bit at a time. There's no doubt, no shot you do not hear the loud ass bugs out there. This is something I did not foresee. Okay. All right. I can finally get to my point. But small sidebar. And what you said there, overcast sky. Um, Years ago, I wanted to start a band, and I didn't want to. It was going to be. I was still a witness back then, or Jehovah's Witness back then, so it was going to be a Christian band. And I wanted the name to be Overcast. I just really liked it. And there was also this like kind of shoegazy type of song in this rhythm game called, I believe it's called Cytus. Cystus. Yes, you did. You unlocked a core memory. All glory to the Hypnotoad. But yeah, back then I wanted to start a band because I play the bass. Jesus Christ, I play the bass. I used to, and I was already in a band at that time, so I'm like, in the future, if this one doesn't last, I vote like I make another one and call ourselves Overcast. We need the telltale pop-up corner. Sky will remember. I don't know what I will and won't remember. But anyway, to my main point about these notebooks. This notebook here, in which the front has been ripped off of this for years. Oh, thank you. I have had this notebook since the 8th grade. It said the date 5/26. I almost thought it meant 2026. So S years ago. I'm just kidding. Let's see. I graduated 2020. Easily 4 years. About 8 years ago. Maybe 9 at this point. This notebook had my first and my greatest literary work I'd ever written. My creepypasta, Laughing Shadows. Which, not to advertise, but I did upload that creepypasta to Quotev, which I don't even think you need an account to go read it. You might, I'm not sure, but Quotev is full of like fan fictions and also like really dumb quizzes that I would look through for hours at a time when I was really bored at school. So I uploaded it there. And I keep track of how many people read it. So far, 9 people have at least looked at the first chapter, and 1 person skipped to the very end. And that just felt fantastic. It's a slow start. Because it is a really edgy story. Real depressing. Kind of extreme. I did read it on stream like around October time. I read it for my friend Lutz for his birthday on stream. I didn't know that eventually his stream cut out and like he couldn't hear me, so he missed a lot of it. But I did end up like I personally called him. We personally had a call and I read the rest of it to him. I'd say Lutz is a very special friend, very special guy. He's a good guy. However, I absolutely would not mind reading it on stream again. 100%, I would not mind doing that. Especially again in this state of mind where I'm going to remember better a lot of like what inspired this event or other things around the story. Alright, just gonna make sure. Okay. So, this notebook had the very first copy of it. And looking back, I'm glad I went through and rewrote the story. because the first edition sucked. It was just, it was like a lot of just really extreme and intense emotion and feelings in writing, but none of it was justified. There was not much of a reason for a lot of it. And in the first writing of it, I didn't even I didn't really add the parents at all. Like all you knew about the parents was that they took care of the main character up until he was 5 years old, and then they just stopped. Ooh, absolutely, go for it. Those are precious memories. Think about it now. You will never be an 8 year old again. And that's, man, I wish I grabbed more stuff from my past just to get like the state of mind and how I viewed the world back then. The first time I took creative writing in high school, that's exactly what I did. I wrote from memory as my first assignment to share. I wrote my first day, or at least, yeah, I wrote one of the first. I wrote about one of the first days as a sophomore in high school. Unfortunately, um, that part of that story also involves meeting Ashley, and I'll never forget it. It was kind of a sweet type of like love at first sight type of thing. You know what? That's both sad and lucky. I wish I could have written more often, especially creative writing. I wish I could have done that. But taking creative writing, that was the only class that I was like, that's the only class I just effortlessly excelled in. So I love to create. I love to use my creativity for even something as little as a name. However, sometimes picking out what my legal name is going to be is just impossible. I have the first name down. It's just the last name. I can't think of anything good. But again, I still have a lot of time before I worry about that. Okay. So the story of the thing about nice. Even I struggle with English sometimes. I'll be honest. Like right now, sometimes just it's hard for me to talk in a cohesive sentence. Which I don't think cohesive was the right word for that, but I think you'll understand. um, anyway, so the first thing I wrote about in creative writing class kind of involved, at least the end of it, meeting Ashley. However, I didn't know Ashley at the time. Like that was just our first time meeting. So because of my lack of a personal phone, and even then the lack of being able to use it freely, I had to stay after school one day to pick up our school iPads for the year, as well as get my schedule for this, at least the first half of the year. And I was standing in line, and the line went for a while, and then I finally got close to the end of it, or it was finally close to my turn, and I'm listening to something, and all of a sudden I make accidental. Well, let me back up a little bit. I think there's one person between us, or two people waiting between us, but it was Ashley and her friend Belle. I thought both of them were just stunning, beautiful, breathtaking. But Ashley, Ashley and I accidentally made eye contact and maintained it for a solid like 2 to 3 seconds. And then I looked away because I'm like, oh shit, now she knows I was looking. Whoops. And then we make eye contact again. And she starts talking to me a little bit, and like we introduce each other. We introduce ourselves. And the rest was history for about a year and a half. And because I didn't know that when we submitted assignments for creative writing, I didn't know we were supposed to do that through Google Docs. So I had written it out by hand, and the teacher printed it out just so like I had a copy, and so did the rest of the class as I read it out loud. And throughout, I think sometime during the relationship, I gave her a copy. I gave her that copy that that day in high school. That's one thing I'm proud about in relationships. When I do I like to do things that are very personal, very genuine. And honestly, that was probably some of my best work. Yes, creative writing was by far the most fun I had in any high school class. That, photography, music theory was okay, but photography I had a lot more fun in. My friend Billy, at the time, he was like, my sister took that class, and it was basically just taking pictures from time to time and then doing a lot of writing. And so I didn't quite want to take the class at first because of that, but I did it anyway because I was curious. And then I just loved it. I loved learning about the history of photography, how to do it properly, some of the rules in it, some of the styles. I will always love monochrome photography, black and white. Because it's like you don't really have too much to worry about in terms of if two colors don't match with each other. To me, taking the color away does kind of make you really focus on the details that are actually there that you can actually see. Like one thing, well, yeah, that too. I consider myself more emo than goth. It's Edgar Allan Poe, cool writer. I love the Telltale Heart, but I'm not depressing all the time. I'm not like Hail Satan all the time. I was described as scene once. Scene kids. The scene kids tend to more like they dress emo, band tees and everything, but also probably some of the happiest people you ever meet. Where it's like it's more for the clothing, not for the actual expression of. I don't know how to really put that, but definitely more for the clothing. Well, thank you for coming in. I appreciate you having here every time. And sleep well. I hope you have a nice day tomorrow. Or in the morning. Oh, how nice. Alright. Thanks, Surrybot. I don't know what that probably could have been, but I'm assuming it may have been an ad. Surrybot's amazing. I never got to my main point about the notebooks, but I just wanted to point out that if you're a streamer and you need a bot to help you, you'll always have at least one viewer in your chat every time, and that's Surrybot. Because there was one time I got like, I think I got like hate bot followed. Thank you. There, like during a set, I suddenly got followed by over 100 bots at a time, or at once. And Surveybot was a little slow, but just fucking all at once. Banned, 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 banned. It was kind of funny to watch, to be honest. It felt great making it up to 520 followers in one stream for the joke. Felt great, but nah, it was had to go. I can't do that. But anyway, so yeah, this notebook is basically where it all began for me in terms of writing stories. And to make this even better, well, it's a little bit of sad lore behind the story of Laughing Shadows. I was writing it in the 8th grade, and I finished it for like a good probably 2 months. I was really happy with how it came out. It was like the, how do I put this? It was the Bonnie and Clyde story I was looking for. It was something where I could look back at it, put it up in a frame, and just be real proud of how it came out. Scrambles. I agree. I like my eggs scrambled. Scrambled. I'm gonna pat myself on the back there. It wasn't too bad. um. So I finished writing it, and then shit happened, and I ended up in a mental hospital. And I brought this notebook in there with me because it was my comfort object. It was my that was a really odd reference to a book. That sounded so mechanical. That was I did that. I didn't mean to say comfort object. That was a reference to The Giver and how like that in that dystopian world you were allowed to have one thing that was called a comfort object. That like if you were scared by anything in the world ever, you have a little comfort object. Which I think that was probably only for kids. But this is what I brought with me into the mental hospital. This notebook here. It's a great book. So I had it with me when my parents visited me. And they asked to see what I was writing in there. Because they also probably saw it as I was in an actual hospital bed before being taken to the mental hospital. In fact, I was working on the sequel. The whole point of it was to add an OC to a creepypasta house fanfiction. I used to love creepypasta house fanfictions. That's another topic for another time. So I was starting to begin to write that sequel, and my parents asked me to see what am I writing about. I don't remember how enthusiastic I was about my story, but I was like, this is what I've been working on, and I'm damn proud of it. So they looked at it, and they were like, yeah, if anyone in this mental hospital sees this, they're probably going to keep you here for more than a week. And I was like, but it's just a story, and I love it so much. I worked so hard on this. And they were like, but like, it's so violent. do you really think that that this represents Christian thinking? I'm like, do you? So into they guilted me into ripping out of that notebook that whole story, which is why it's so thin, by the way. Like, this is 70 sheets in one. That is not 70 sheets worth of a notebook. Mm-mm. So they made me rip it out, and then during one of the days where, I mean, it was still during the school year. So some people, and I was graduating the 8th grade. I didn't have any homework for like the rest of the school year or any schoolwork to worry about. So when we got together to like just quietly do work and ask questions if we were having trouble, I had one girl in there who uploaded poetry to Wattpad, and there was me with my notebook. Just I created 2 new stories in there. One I abandoned because it was a fucking dumb idea, and my girlfriend at the time also looked through my notebook, and I'd forgotten I had that story in there. It was like Love on Lockdown. I was going to write the experience of kind of falling for someone while also in a mental hospital, because like, you know, being 14, kind of lonely. I miss my girlfriend, but at the same time, I can't help but just be a hoe and flirt. And you're around these people for like hours at a time, basically the whole day, and then feelings happen. That's what I was going to write about, but I never did. I never started it. I wrote the title. And had the cover for it and everything, and it's never bothered. So I met this girl in there named Hannah. I thought she was just really cool, but she got out early because she was there for like probably 2 or 3 days. Yeah, she also already had a boyfriend too. My friend in there, Brett, was a really bad influence on me. Brett, who was in there with me, he was like the big brother I never had, even though I did have a big brother. Growing up, I was a really sensitive kid. I was real. Growing up, I was a really sensitive kid. So if my big brother actually like didn't even have to like give me a hard, playful punch on the arm, I will tear up because it hurts. And I'll start crying about it, and then he would just get in trouble. So he didn't really interact with me like a normal big brother would. And so when I was in that mental hospital, I had another kid in there named Brett, or another guy in there, and he was just like he razzed me like an older brother, tried to teach me stuff like an older brother, and it was really cool to experience. But he also was like, "Do you see her boyfriend here? What is he gonna do? What's he gonna do about that? You're not gonna get in trouble for anything. Just go for it." So I did end up writing her a really cheesy poem, and then I gave it to her after she was leaving, or on the day that she was leaving. I have no idea where it went. Lost contact with all of them as soon as I was out those doors. But other than that other story that I almost had written, I was in the middle of creating another story. I wonder if I still have. Man, that's all. Man, I wish I did not write in fucking pencil all over this. I still have something from when I was depressed and I didn't want to talk during class. So my friend Glenn Kate, I was really depressed that day, and she was like, "Hey, you okay?" I didn't want to speak, so I just wrote "living like Larry" on the back of the notebook and showed it to her. But this was the other story. I do plan on rewriting and finishing someday. It's called "Take Me to My Dreams." I was quite proud of it too. I wrote, um, I wrote, I wanted to draw stuff on here that I kind of liked, just to really make sure this is that character right there is me. You got like a Fossil Fighters logo in there that I try to put, which is a DS game, by the way. Pokeball. I believe that was Bayonetta's logo or thing from Smash. Well, not she's not from Smash, but that was her Smash logo in there. Super Smash Brothers is what I meant. DS logo, Black Veil Brides is right there. YouTube, Super Smash Brothers logo, Xbox, and that is a reference to this girl here, this character. Take Me to My Dreams. Talking about it with my therapist years ago. Yeah, years ago at this or about a year ago at this point. I basically was writing an isekai, except the main character could go back to the real world, Earth, the real Earth world, anytime he wanted. Sorry, I just reality is setting in. Ay, ay, ay. All right. So that story was about this kid, real awkward. He has a hard time making friends at school just because of how awkward he is. He has a few friends, just a few of them, but the opening scene is like him in the second person. Basically, how I'm talking to you now. That's how I like to write my stories. That's how I wrote Laughing Shadows, and that's how I wrote this one. Just from the point of view of somebody really awkward. And the story opens up with a memory of like, it's hard for me to make friends. And the memory is at recess, he tried to go meet someone new, but when he tried to introduce himself, he screams hi or just yells it because he was so nervous, and then accidentally getting everyone's attention. He was like, "Sorry, never mind. I'm sorry. Don't. I'm sorry. Don't pay attention to me." And as he's walking away, he trips on a flower that is sticking out of the ground, and so everyone laughs at him. However, he's like not too depressed about it. Kind of just accepting that it is what it is. He's a little bit of a loser. But still happy as a clam in high tide. Or maybe not that happy. Let's be realistic. And then one morning, he's getting ready for school, and he slips and falls on something in his room. He falls backwards. His back hits the bed frame so hard that it breaks the side of the bed frame. That is how bad the fall was. And after he gets back up, brushes himself off, he discovers what he slipped on was a sniper bullet with a water droplet on it, or a teardrop. Well, I mean, well, I don't know. I pointed to that as something different, but still with a teardrop on it. and thinking it was cool, he took it to school with him just to like keep in his pocket, just to keep with him. Which thinking back now, that detail probably would have gotten him arrested if he was caught. Like, what could you possibly be doing with a sniper bullet in your pocket? That was a really dumb detail. I'm probably gonna iron that out later, but he slips and falls, and then carries on with his day. Only to later on, when he comes home, sees that his bed frame was repaired with like, I think it was like sticks or like really strong tree branches, but it was repaired nonetheless with like tree branches and grass, which he found very strange. And so, this is where the story gets interesting. He looks under his bed to find a portal after moving some shit around. And in that portal, he ends up falling. And just because, this is how you could tell that I listen to music when I write. Because of that fall, I put in also the detail that you can hear the beginning of Drown by Bring Me the Horizon. Because that's just the music that I pictured our main character falling to in terms of like a movie sense. That's just what I heard in my head. So I was like, that's a good detail. So he's screaming, but eventually he just stops because he's still falling and it's taking a long time. And right before he hits the ground, he starts screaming again. Then he lands to the ground and doesn't feel a thing. No pain, just suddenly just was there. He looks around and is met with the face of who is going to be his new best friend, Firefrost. From, for the lack of a better name, the Teary-Eye tribe, or the Teary-Eye clan, one of the two. She is a, let's see, did I put her height in the story? Did I even include that at all? It's possible I made her like 4'11". Look at this. Oh my goodness. I just found something from the 8th grade that I did not even know I had. Holy fuck. I'm gonna read that out loud later. Man, I stopped at chapter 8. Kind of proud of myself. I'm also, to be honest, I'm quite surprised how well how much the lead in the paper. I'm surprised how much it's not smudged, is what I'm trying to get at. But the opening chapter 2, I think he just landed. A 15-year-old can only stay up for so long. Yeah, that definitely dates when I wrote this. I think I'll just read you a little bit of, yeah, okay, perfect. So chapter 2, in the middle of it, the middle of the beginning. No, I'll just start from the beginning. That'll just make more sense. The beginning of the chapter. I went downstairs to investigate, but no one was there. I thought to myself, maybe I'm just really tired. A 15-year-old can only stay up for so long. Then I went back to my room and still heard the music. Then I saw something move from under my bed. Hesitantly, I moved some boxes out of the way, but little did I know that was a big mistake. After I moved the last box from under my bed, I was suddenly being sucked into a black hole. I tried to fight it as best I could to escape, but nothing worked. Once I was fully through, whatever that thing was, I could hear the music more clearly now. But I was also falling, and the song actually continued this time. Then I hit the ground harder than a falling angel. Surprisingly, it didn't hurt. Then, I was greeted by a Neko girl with a teardrop on her face. She said, "Hi, I'm Firefrost, from the Teary-Eyed clan." I was shocked beyond belief. This can't be real. I stood there with my mouth wide open. I might as well just explain what's going on there, because you're new here, and I have to fill you in. But first, take in your surroundings. She said with an amazingly cute voice. I did as she told and surveyed my surroundings. The sky was clear and there are techno kittens in the air. As I noticed them, I clearly heard Techno Kitten by Sorrel. In the song, it explains both types of techno kittens. One type has a rocket pack, and the other type has wings. Just like, yep. This was the extent of my creativity. Something about a entirely different world, while also involving Sorrel, because I love his happy hardcore music. Man, it does not surprise me in the slightest that I had to just involve something about happy hardcore. Jesus Christ. But to not drag this on too much longer, this was supposed to be like a whole nother world full of Nekos, but they're all in separate tribes. And there was 4 of them. There's a Teary-Eyed clan, I guess clans. But I also wanted to base them on emotion too. So the Teary-Eyed one was for like sadness. Face to Fist clan for anger. Smiling Sights clan for happiness, smile. And then Hunter's Hatred clan, probably for hatred. Which I think I also was probably struggling for a 4th name at the time back then too. And how you would tell each clan apart is by tattoos, specifically on the face. So the Teary-Eyed clan was going to have a giant teardrop like on the cheek. And the Smiling Sights, that one was explained later, but it was also just more inferred what it was. Because the way you join the tribe or officially are recognized as a part of it, clan, is the tattoo is seared on your face, like branded. And so they get to that part in the scene, and I think Firefrost is like, you can imagine how painful the Smiling Scythe one is. It's all on the face. And then other stuff happens from there. However, I'm a little curious now what I wrote in the back of this here. This is a note I wrote to my friend Glenn Kate in the 8th grade. I'm wondering what was bothering me. Oh. You know what? That's a story for another time. I don't want to drag down the mood. That was a man. I had no idea I had that. Holy hell. But anyway, my creepypasta was born in these pages that are now destroyed. And then my parents years ago also made me promise that I would never rewrite it. That's where this bad boy comes in. I also had pages of this ripped out. I'm not entirely sure why. I don't remember. But oh, that's for Fossil Fire stuff. All right. Oh my goodness, I found the original art for it. Hell yeah! I didn't know I had this either. Thank you, thank you. Love you too. Um. So yeah, I was intending on rewriting it by hand, like the first copy, but then I just like, well, at least to finish the story that way. But I also noticed I didn't have enough space to rewrite the entire thing, so eventually I just started writing it down in a Google Doc. However, this was the original art for it. Look at that. That's what I was going to make like the cover for it, but I kind of rushed the publishing of it just a little bit. However, this works too. I really like it. It kind of does really sum up what the story's about. I especially like the bottom here, where it's not coming out on camera too well because it is a terrible time focusing on stuff really close to it. That was the both the protagonists in the story. So yeah, I'm glad I rewrote this. I'm glad I kept these. Thank you, thank you. So far, I don't mean I'm not saying you have to read it, but so far nobody loves it to read the whole thing themselves. There were like I want to say like 15. No, that's absolutely not it. 11 or 12 chapters. They're not too long. It's not that bad. Not that long of a read per chapter. When I read it out loud from start to finish, and including just like a few facts in between, it takes like a good 3 hours. Which, to be honest, I'm totally more okay with that as opposed to a book, which would take me definitely days to finish. All right, I gotta see what's up. I can only I can only run with this title and the announcement for so long. But the other notebook has other shit in it. Hell, Fillion. Look at her go. Oh man, do you think this will get me in trouble on fucking YouTube as well? I mean, technically it's free advertisement, so I don't know how much trouble I can get in for that. I guess honestly we'll just see. But this notebook here is special for a different reason. Speaking of things that are special about it, I do remember this paper in here. I just don't remember what it's for. American politician. These are notes? Treason. Oh, these are. Oh, I think this was for my U.S. government class. Or American government, I'm sorry. That was the name of it. Because I see a pen mark on there. It looks a lot like it came from a t shirt. So I talked about it from time to time. That the way I used to express myself in the eighth grade is I had a super super hard time opening up about my problems, and I bottled all of my anger. Is I used to vent through art and writing. That's what I used to do, and poetry from time to time. And so I had one full notebook worth of school notes, but also, well, school notes were just a small fraction of that whole notebook. The rest of it I filled with just me venting through art, and it was something involving not good things happening to myself and not good things happening to other people, as well as just sometimes I was happy, I would draw about it. And it was always just like a quick picture with a song quote. And I drew them like whenever I had an idea, I drew it out nearly immediately. And it would take me like at most 10 minutes to draw. And I did that nearly every day. I had filled a notebook about this big. I don't know, this notebook also seems a bit thin. But it was about this size. It was a pretty big notebook. I'd filled it with school notes and those pictures. My parents threw it away when I was in the mental hospital. And I was working on another big book. It was a big book only for drawing, only for art. And so I was filling that book with also these dark pictures, these dark things, just to help me vent. My parents threw that away too. Hurt my feelings a lot. I was really looking forward to like actually filling that whole book with pictures. I was halfway done. Probably over 100 pictures. But this one, however, I have a few pictures that were the tail end of me venting through art. Because if I couldn't draw it in a notebook, I didn't see the point. Because my drawings in digital form from a notebook, they just don't look good. I'm not saying I'm being hard on myself about it. It's just like, nah, I don't really like the way they come out. Yeah, they threw it out, and they threw out like that whole notebook, that other notebook, another one with like a few of those drawings like scattered in there, but not much. And I also had a poetry book where I did write poetry. And I didn't write anything dark because I knew my parents were going to look through it, but I didn't bother. Until at one point, what I was doing is I went towards the end of that poetry book, and I might have been writing it backwards. Nah, I think I went to like the dead center of that poetry book, and I started writing what I was considering it an epic, which is just a long poem. But to be honest, I was writing a story, but as like logs about a full day. Like, this is what happened today. It starts out like a normal story, and then it'll go like in the top right corner or left corner, it would say like a few hours later, a day later, a week later. And that story was also kind of dark. It just escalated really quickly to then like a bit of a plateau in the story. But it just get to me, I wanted it to become like, I was gonna say crazier as it went on, but that's not quite what happened. And I also had some nice memories from the 7th grade and my friends in the 8th grade as well from that book. They threw that shit out too. And this one, this notebook, as I said before, caught the tail end of what my drawings were like when I needed to vent. Let's see here. Oh, this one's perfect. I don't know how much how much is gonna come out, but this, you can tell, is definitely a furry by that time. But I just felt really guilty about something. Like, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. And I think towards the bottom it goes like, oh, no, never mind. Still, I'm sorry. And then thought bubble, I didn't mean it. And next to it, it just says, I really am useless. Just emo and furry. Can't get a better combo than that. And I had another one that I talked about during that 6 hour stream. But honestly, it really summed up. It really, really summed up how I felt being raised by my parents. It's alright. Honestly, this is kind of if if the guest doesn't show up after I tell the story, I'm just honestly at this point I'm just going to continue with at least my part of it. This is I'm gonna keep that thought on the inside and continue with my story and continue on. So around, I want to say maybe the beginning to the middle of my freshman year in high school, my I was talking about something that happened throughout the day. Oh yeah, that's the whole point of this podcast and the whole point of my just chatting streams throughout the week. I have a lot of stories and a lot of experiences that I absolutely want to share, but people get a little upset when they expect music and it's just me talking. So it was kind of about time that I started doing this. But besides the point, this was around the time that after school I was telling my father some sort of thing that happened at school, and I said like, yeah, my friend, they did this, or this happened to my friend, and my father was like, they're classmates, not your friends. He genuinely meant that. He told me they are your classmates, not your friends. In fact, I honestly am. I'm gonna pull out the picture. The picture. Because my father, when he sat me down about this, we had a whole discussion about it. He had me write it on a whiteboard. Wow, I found it nearly immediately. You know what? I'm going to share to. I have an idea. Let's save this to my device. And then switch over to the other one. Oh yeah, it was like, she's like, how can you feel okay with telling someone that? What part of any of that makes that okay? To be honest, I think I'll just just put the picture somewhere. You know what? It's going in IRL pics because technically it is an IRL pic. Ooh, I have a better idea. This way it will not interrupt anything on the main server. Alright, here's my server that I have no one in. Okay. Yeah. Fucking let kids be kids. What the fuck is wrong with you? Hey, Jesus Christ. It suddenly just became so wrong for me to have friends at school. And that's of course one of the reasons why I am not a fan of my father. Not in the slightest. Save images. Okay. So I'm going to close Discord. And I had the second image here. There it is. Good old Bruce. I'm sorry, Bruce. I'm gonna have to put a different picture here for a little bit. Stay there. Keep drinking. I can tell you're enjoying it. Just stay put. Just hold on. Is this it? Oh, that was extremely close. Oh my gosh. My heart just fucking sank. Holy fuck. Jesus Christ. I should have just looked up where I put the picture. I am actually sweating. That just made me panic so quickly. Jesus Christ. No. I had to it's actually worse. It is so much worse. So I had to email my ID to myself, and for some reason I was like, I just never bothered to take the pictures off of my laptop. And I don't know why it's saved under logos, but okay. Here is the actual picture, right here. Look at this. My father sat me down, Jesus Christ. My father sat me down and had me write all this. Do you see this shit? I'll walk through it with you. And we'll walk through it with you. I'll even put this to the side so my face is right there. Worksheets. When I'm bored, lunchtime, mind you. He wanted me to work on worksheets on jw.org. And also because I was a rebel without a cause, that is also my furry stuff right there too, which he didn't understand. Hey. It just makes you closer friends that way. Anyway. And this was another article series called Frequently Asked Questions. More things to look up involving the organization. There's Bible questions answered. The Bible changes lives, so there are experiences from other witnesses released by the organization. And even more, Research Guide 2018. Scriptures Explained. Specifically the Book of Revelation. Just wanted me to look up more stuff involving the Bible. Listen to the songs that the organization publishes and makes. Bible character cards. We had actual flashcards for Bible characters that my father printed out and laminated. And then the Kingdom Proclaimers book, which honestly, I don't even remember what that shit was. But, big but, I'm going to cover the fucking screen for this one. The very end of it, what my father made me write as a tip at the very end of it, class/schoolmates, not friends. I I was ready to kill him. I was actually ready to start throwing hands. Like, are you fucking serious? You made me write all of this to drill in the point at the very bottom. Classmates, not friends. You delusional asshole. Like, why are you like this? Just why? It, man, it bothers me to this day that he thought that was okay. And it really, my favorite part of this whole thing is it just how much it says about, like, hold on, where's my picture of Bruce? Where'd he go? Is the camera roll? That's not the camera roll. Screenshots. There you are, buddy. There he is. In all his Bruce glory. And I'll thank you for chatting there for a second so I can resize it. Alright, see you around, Bruce. Bye. Say goodbye to Bruce. Okay. Good. Goodbye, buddy. See you around. Alright. Yeah. Well, you're one of them. No. What you almost saw was the front of my license. So, like, legal name, other numbers, where I used to live. Yeah, that was it was almost, that's why I panicked so quickly. Gosh, it is just, that was I was having a panic. I had a panic. And I guess I can move this all the way over here now. So, I after we had that whole conversation, I did give it like a good old fashioned try. You motherfucker, don't send me a goddamn voice message in the middle of a podcast. What is wrong with you? Jesus Christ. Anyway. So that was one of the fucking things he said to me. I say it from time to time that it says a lot about the impression that my parents left on me. Simon, I guess Ashley at this point, and unfortunately also Simon's sister. Simon's sister gets a pass because she was civil about it. Oh, my half sister too. She's not getting out of this one either. It says a lot that after nearly a year of not talking to any of you, not even knowing if, like, if not even knowing if you just blew your nose, knowing nothing about you, and yet I can still hold on to the same fiery passion of anger that I had since then. It really does say something. It's sad. It really is. No one should have to hold on to, like, some sort of grudge like this for this long. But it is what it is. You cannot go. Jesus Christ. Hold on. So something came up apparently. Got chores to do. That's fine. Totally fine. I have no problem with that. It is what it is. But I have made my sofa fool announcing I am a special guest. I gotta talk about all this shit and get his point of view on it as well. The conundrum is, actually, you know what? I'm still going to talk about my experiences, just so he has a bit more time to talk about it next time. Maybe next week? Maybe. I don't know. But I'll tell you one thing. Not a fan of flakes. Not in the slightest. This podcast and kind of running it by myself is the reason why I wanted to, like, I very badly wanted to do a podcast, but with other people. And it just kept failing. And then suddenly I realized I have the power to do this now. Just do it. What am I waiting for? And years ago, Simon, this deal's a Simon, a fat fuck. It was me, him, and another friend, John Luke. We had like good comedic chemistry. We could just have a normal conversation about whatever we were talking about, and it would always make all of us laugh, and we'd have a great time. So I was like, I really think that we could do a podcast. And so they liked the idea. I just needed to order headphones with a mic in it so that we could just play video games and also stream or do a podcast at the same time. Like, we talked about it in great but vague detail. And so it was after the meeting that night, and one of them had to leave. And so after that, it was like, all right, I'm in podcast mode. I'm ready to start doing this. A week later, when I see both of them, so I'm like, all right, it's been on my mind. I don't know what days. I know what days are going to work for me, but what days would work for you guys to get together 1 week at a time and have a podcast? And they were like, nah, I don't really feel like doing that anymore. It's kind of more of a joke anyway. I could have killed him. I could have knocked both of them out in one foul swoop. I was just that heartbroken and angry. Like, you motherfuckers, you got my hopes up for that? Really? No. Terrible. And I fell for it again later on when we were going to get a not a Dungeons and Dragons group, but Mutants and Masterminds, which is just Dungeons and Dragons but not as fantasy. I bought my own dice. I was like, so, John Luke, homie, when do you think you and your girlfriend at the time, or at least wife, when would you two like to actually sit down and plan this? And he was like, I think you can take care of all the details. You got this. I was so discouraged. Like, I you're giving me nothing to work with. I asked for water, you give me an empty bottle. That is the equivalent of, like, fucking do it yourself. Exactly. Don't fuck with someone's help. You just don't do that. That's not right. Not in the slightest. And so, you know what? I'm not going to air out the dirty laundry. That's enough about that topic. but I will, for the next half hour that we have, about half hour that we have left, I'm basically just going to answer these topics that I had from what I can remember. So the first one was, what made you want to leave, and what was the last straw of being in the organization? What was that moment, that aha moment, that made you realize that you did not want to be in the I would say the outcast, the organization anymore? Well, it's funny you asked that, Sky. So over the years, sorry, I wanted to keep up with the joke of I was interviewing myself, and you know what? I think I will. So you know what, Sky? This was kind of a long time coming. Over the years, I started realizing that something isn't quite right about the organization and what they teach. And I started thinking about our biggest claims of this is one of their songs is called "This Is the Way." This is the way to life. And one of their first original songs they released was called "Best Life Ever." So they're claiming that the way we live, the way they live, is the best life possible, and it will make you the happiest that you could possibly be, because you are giving your time to God by sacrificing your free time and your materials to witness to people, as in like the ministry, being a pioneer either in your state or doing missionary work in other places. Maybe like that sounded a little weird, but that is what it's called. It's called missionary work. Missionaries, but they're just modern day missionaries, just going to other countries even to help out, or maybe even another part of the U.S. And there was one day I was sitting in my living room, just thinking about that and how it looks to everyone else. Exactly, Spectra. Exactly. And I was looking at it from an outward perspective. What would I think if I saw this organization saying that only they are going to live and everything else is just for nothing? And thinking like that, it really did look selfish and just really narcissistic to say that we are God's people. We are the only true religion. Those are their exact words. And that was just the start of it. I tried not to think about it too much because my faith was being shaken and I was trying to be a good Christian boy. So I didn't think about it too much, but it always was on my mind. And even then, I also, you know what? Yeah, exactly, they only pick the best cherries. That is exactly it. Totally agree with that. Um, and then later on in life, I got another job at another place in a warehouse, and I started getting closer with one of my coworkers who's I still text him from time to time. I miss him. Good old Dominic. I know multiple Dominics, so this one's from a job I used to work at. And he would ask me questions from time to time about like the Bible and Bible beliefs, and also like questions about how we live. And so, the more I talked about it to him from time to time, the more he would be like, That sounds really cult-like. You right? You know that? That sounds pretty much like a cult. And the more he was saying it, the more we were talking about it, the more I realized he's kind of right. And also, I'm just miserable. I was miserable about relationships, about being lonely in terms of friendships, in the organization, both of them in the organization actually. And I, we all knew how not only sheltered I was, but so caged that I just could not be myself. Exactly, yeah, they definitely make you think that you're not in a cult. It's quite amazing how many people they've brainwashed into thinking that from either from either being born and raised in it, especially being born and raised, to those who actually listen to them. And it's crazy. And then one day, Dominic just noticed like I have been depressed. I've been coming into work depressed for like the past week. I need to do something. Brainwashing really is the worst. But Dominic, the good friend that he is, he helped me solve that problem. He kept asking me like the past 2 days, like, "Hey, do you want a disposable vape? You really need one." And I can totally tell that like I think you could really use one, and it would make you feel happy. And for a day, I thought about it. I thought about it for a while, and I was just really on the fence about it. Like I really, really, really wanted to vape. I really did. It's something I've never done before, and to be honest, even growing up with my 2DS, sometimes I would fucking. You know what? That's a little bit of a sad memory. I'll just run with it anyway. To keep my imagination active. That's not as far as I wanted to get. But sometimes I would just hold my stylus for the DS in my mouth, and it just felt right. It felt right. I felt cool. But what else is a kid gonna do? I think I was 12 back then too. Even more so, just cringy and sad. So I really wanted this vape. I really did, but my Christian morals were keeping me from getting it and like saying yes. So the second day, I gave him like a 1% over the 50-50 line of 51% yes. And he was like, "Come with me real quick. Just come with me. Don't say anything." And so Dominic got out his wallet, $5 bill. He told our buddy that like, "Hey, we're gonna be. I have $5 right here. I'm gonna get him one of your small disposables." He's like, "Yeah, go ahead, go forward." And the rest was history. I was given. I didn't know what thing to choose in between sativa or indica because I also didn't know how my antidepressants were going to react to it. Um, so he got me a hybrid, and it was like a peach mango one or mango pineapple one. Yeah, the rest was history. I just realized that story is almost finished. That night, I finally started smoke. I started vaping, and I started realizing how relaxed and happy I was, and I just felt great. And I really started questioning why would they keep this from us? This could help so many people who struggle with depression like me when the medication's not working well enough. why would they keep something like this that could help so many people away from us? And after that, I was convinced. Oh, hey, Taco, hello. And after that, I was convinced like I need to get out of here. I hate this. I hate this life. That's a very interesting story. Very quite eye opening. Wow, man, I feel bad for you. That must have been rough. Yes, it was. It was very rough. I don't know how much longer I should keep up with this joke. I look psychotic. Anyway, moving on. The other question I was going to ask it. The other question I was going to ask was how did your family react to you leaving? How did that all go down? Oh shit. How did that all go down? Well, Sky, it was it was it was quite the circus, quite the circus getting into the state and leaving, moving out of state. 'Cause I took one of the biggest risks you could probably take, and it just worked out. Most people, most people on the like just in general probably would not move in with somebody else after knowing them for only 3 months. Most sane people probably would not take such a risk, especially since we have again only 3 months and just somebody on the internet. So like just that alone was crazy enough. But the day I was leaving was also see this is what ruined the plan was that the convention for that year was coming up for Jehovah's Witnesses. We they have a convention every year. It is just sermon with video after sermon with a video after sermon with a video, song, and then you get to eat lunch and hang out with people for an hour. And then it's just that all over again. And those go for about 7 hours a day. They used to be like multiple. No, they're still multiple days. Never mind. Yeah. The conventions go for 3 days, Friday to Sunday. Assemblies are smaller versions of the convention, and they only last for one day, and we have those like 2 days out of the year. And this one coming up, I was like, dog, I really don't want to go to this. I really don't. It's just going to kill me on the inside. I need to get out of here soon. You know what? That's also true. That's also very true. That is also very true. I guess apparently it's just a pattern in my life. So originally I was going to move like I think it was the end of July, but I expedited it to like the end of June when the convention was happening or was about to happen. And the day of was hectic enough because I had to get up. I had to get up and shower and be ready to just fucking pedal to the metal as soon as my mother left for work. My father was gone for work. His normal work schedule was like 2 a.m. to like 3 p.m. doing food truck delivery. Not food truck delivery. Delivery to restaurants. So the food that restaurants gets, he gets the food in a out of a warehouse. They're loaded onto his big rig truck, and yeah, he just delivers them. He just delivers food. Schedule? Which schedule? I don't remember when I said schedule, but I know I said schedule. Um, so my father had already been gone for most of the day. I just had to wait for my mother to leave. And the last meal I ate in that house was one of the things that I was going to eat for the convention for lunch. And my father, earlier in the week, he was like, "Hey, do you want like this for lunch at the convention?" I was like, "Don't worry about it. I can take care of that. I'll be fine." And he just bought three of them for me anyway, because I also knew that I was not going to be at that convention. Just okay. Um, food. I knew I was not going to be there to eat them. So that morning when my mother was leaving, I ate one of those things. I ate one of them, full knowing that like keep the scenario in mind. Like if I had stayed home that day, my father would have been like, "Why the one of those was supposed to be for the convention? Why'd you eat it? What are you gonna do now?" But my father wasn't there to question it. My mother, she kind of just she didn't pay attention to me, but she also assumed I was going to be there when I got home. So I was eating. My mother left, and probably for about 30 more minutes, I waited just to make sure that she was gone out of the house. And then I booked it. I started packing up my shit, putting it in a suitcase, getting stuff ready to be shipped here. And I unfortunately had to leave behind my tiny amp, my PV for my bass. But it is what it is. God damn, I miss that. I miss that tiny amp. That's such a good one. Especially good for band practice because it wasn't heavy. Anyway, so I couldn't take that amp with me, but I had just finished like with putting the stuff in or going to the store and like I guess I have to take this back then. And it started raining really heavily as I was going into the store to get my stuff shipped. And I was like, this is probably a sign from God. But I'm running with it anyway. Because also, my flight was supposed to be for that day, which is another part of this grand story. But I went to the airport. I went to the airport and I was checking in, getting my bag thing, putting the bag stuff, and there was no flight to this state with my name on it, or no seat, and I also had no idea what I was doing because the first place that he got the ticket for me from, Orbitz, instead of moving the date, they just canceled it and didn't tell him. So I had to wait 2 days in that airport. But it gets better. It gets a lot better. Before I ended up staying in that airport for multiple days at a time, he he was like, "All right, we're gonna get you a hotel room. You'll be there for like 2 days, so you can be there and relax." He got me a hostel room, a hostel room, what hostel, and that was also torture because like I just felt I'm in Boston of all places. I felt so unsafe. Like I didn't want to leave the room for anything, not even to use the bathroom, because I didn't know if somebody was gonna start digging through my bags and like yeah, I was. It was not fun, especially late at night when I was trying to sleep. One of the one of the ears in my monitors was starting to go a little, so I had to sleep at a specific angle so I can drown out any noise behind me. Because my roommate at the time, around like 11 o'clock, he was quiet the whole day, just on his phone doing nothing. But as soon as 11 o'clock hit, he was just in and out of that room, walking and mumbling to himself, and that door just slammed shut every time. It was it was quite hard to sleep in that room. Quite difficult. And all while dealing with that, I did because I was in the chill channel to help me relax a little bit. I was in the chill channel for a lot of it. Like Cosmic Kitty was in there, Dubby was there. I think to help with like, well, not really help out, but also just be in there to talk when people are in there. Damn, about a year. Holy shit. As safe as if I was. Yeah, that's about as safe as I felt. Wow, a ten for a year. I gotta hear that story someday. I'm on a little bit of a roll right now though. I feel bad, but man, that's I'm impressed. Quite impressed. But not only dealing with that, but also with the the panic text from my father of like, or maybe it was my mother asking me like where I'm going, where am I, and that's when I had to break the news to them. Of the last time you saw me was the last time you probably will ever see me, at least for a good long time. And so she was starting to panic. Then my father started texting me, unless it was my father first. And I had to break the news to him too. Like, yeah, I ain't coming back, dog. Peace out, bestie. So long, and thanks for all the fish. And it was. I might still have a screenshot from when I was talking to my friend Dominic about it. In fact, you know what? I'm gonna look for that right now. Because I still have the thing about the car, the fucking car. Not no it is this one. The car was basically the main issue of the whole reason why my father was talking to me. Wasn't really He wasn't as focused about me leaving the organization, but more focused on how is he going to get the car back. I'm like, you are fucking unbelievable. Absolutely. Like, are you really? You claim to love me. And this is and like this is oh no, that's where they got scammed. Hold on. Man, I'm glad I have screenshots of that too. That was a funny time. Good thing to look back on. Um where the fuck is it, man? I'm so close but so far. I forgot ways to share poetry too. Fucking treasure of a dude. But anyway, the screenshot from my father that I took of the text between me and my father. So, when did I? When did this? What is? When did I take this picture? When did I send it? Is what I want to know. Jesus Christ, that was a terrible voice crack. Well, oh wait a minute. Okay. So here's how it all started. Oh, it is what it is. I have many people who I consider even closer than parents to me. So honestly, they're a loss when I gain. It is what it is. But how the whole thing started was him texting, "Hey, how are you doing? Just checking up on you. Noticed I can't locate you on Find My Friends app. Where are you?" And I just told him in a safe place. Then he started asking questions. Where? I told him where. I said. Then he asked why. I just told him I'm done with the truth. Which, if you're in the organization, they call it the truth so often and so much because that is what they genuinely believe. That it is just common for anyone to call it the truth. It's terrible. And the first thing my father says is, "Please go to Jehovah. You will get hurt. Please don't also do this to your mother." And that's what I told him. My lonely prayers fell on deaf ears. And all he said was, "Please come home." And I said, "No." And he says, "I'm going to look for you." And then my mother starts texting me, "When will you be home?" I just straight up told her, "Never." And she says, "Oh, shit." And then she says, "Don't mess with me. I can't handle that. I can't handle that. You'll break my heart. Don't say that, please." "No. Who will be there for you? I can't believe this is happening." And then I responded, "My friends are helping me out. It's okay. I'm a lot more safe than you think." Oh, gotcha. And then she replies, "If they're helping you leave without talking to us about what's going on, they aren't very good. Did you lie to us?" I'm like, "Well, of course I lied. I'm done being held back by both you and Dad. Plus, the organization is a sham. They really are brainwashing everyone, and you cannot change my mind on the matter." Now, fast forward to a few who who will be there for you. Exactly. That's the other thing that like the organization does not get, and that's what they brainwash you about. Is the only people that are going to help you, the only people that you need, are in the organization with you, serving God together in the way that God feels is right. Thank you. Sometimes I don't feel it was very brave myself, kind of a cowardly thing to just leave without saying goodbye. But this also was a very big risk, and honestly, it was kind of scary. So thank you. It was just definitely it's a story to tell until the day I end up in the grave. But they really drill it into your head. Oh, absolutely. Well, it's quite possible they would have physically kept me from leaving, which is, I guess, also a smart reason why I did everything while they were gone. But oh, thank you, I appreciate it. Um, they really drill it into your head that only Jehovah's Witnesses have your best interests for you. Everyone else in the world, Satan's world, they're only going to hurt you. They're not going to help you. They're going to leave you out there to freeze. And I knew after I joined the Outcast that is just not true. And like getting my new friends today, it is just that's not true in the slightest. I meet people so often that have either similar stories to me or just also do happen to have my best interests at heart, and it just takes me a while to get to know that. And it just proves them more wrong every day. And that's the funny thing is, this goes on with another thing that specifically only happened in my household. That neither of my parents wanted either me or my older brother talking to anyone over the internet. Not a single person. Couldn't even have social media. My parents played with the idea, but I had an Instagram when I was in the 6th grade, I think. 6th, 7th. It was the 7th grade is when I started my first Instagram. And they looked through it and just thought, like, yeah, I can't handle it. Mm-mm. Well, to the extent that my parents brought it to was just a little too much. It was literally anything that dealt with playing even a video game with a stranger, with the possibility to talk to them, even if it's not possible. Like, don't play online games. That is not allowed ever. They were just too afraid that I was going to be introduced to ideas. I was too impressionable. They were too afraid that I was going to make friends, which I did on multiple occasions. I had a lot of, I had like, well, not a lot of, I had a good amount of online people that I met that I like genuinely connected with. And they just kept me from it. They just kept me from it. And this story will actually kind of link into something later on. Thank you. I count you as a friend too, homie. When I do catch them, oh hello Phillian. When I do catch your streams, I normally have a fun time in there. Like I enjoy the music you play. It's nice joking around with you. However, I feel really bad that one time you were talking about your pet, and I was a little crossfaded, and I had no idea that you weren't kidding, not the slightest, and I only realized it until like maybe a half hour after you stopped talking, or just like as it kept. You were this really distraught, and I had no idea. And I'm so sorry. I was not reading the room whatsoever. May she live on in your heart and your stories. But anyway, so kind of circling back to the last day talking to my parents or texting them before blocking them. One of the last screenshots I have of the conversation between me and my father was him telling me this. Not going to force you to do anything. Jehovah gave you free will, and you can make the choice you wish. Please understand the concern at the moment is your mental health. You need our support to get you better. You can't afford this on your own. You will not survive. Just a matter of time. Let us help you while we still can. Nobody out there will help you. Satan is living. Satan is living this right now. Don't let him win. Mm-mm. Yes, I'm sure that was your only concern there. It was just so bullshit. I was trying to figure out like, no, where's my car either? And Dominic, he did point out that like, yeah, he's not really. I guess he wasn't really worried about the car either. Only more about like, sure, moving out is fine, but will you still be one of us? Will you still be faithful to this group of old men who are telling everyone how to live their lives? I mean, kind of. My father probably was taken down as an elder for a little while because he also had just no idea that I was up to any of this. It's normally just sad when somebody young leaves the organization, and I can tell you this from experience. Because my big brother, my blood brother, left the organization very slowly, just like me. He gave it like an actual try. He really did try to do things by the book, and it just didn't work. And he was just miserable, just like me. And it was, I remember being like, I had a conversation with him just to catch up, and then he told me he smoked cigars. And I very disappointedly told my dad, with the same amount of disappointment, he started smoking. Like, that's just, man, that's rough. It's gonna be hard to quit that if he ever comes back. It was always the hope that they would come back. Always the hope. And from time to time, what my father would do or something like that, would like send them maybe some sort of publication that my father thought of that made my father think of him. So if I didn't block them, I probably still would be getting like, I don't know, oh, this publication made me think of you. You should read it sometime. They don't stop. They do not stop, and it is so annoying, and I hate it. It is so bad. But there was my big brother, my older cousin. Jesus Christ. Okay. Yep. Exactly like that, but ours are digital. So like they can just send you links so quickly and so much more often. It's I hate it. I really do. Um, then there's also my friend Alex, who I will invite on the podcast another time. Depends on ever he's available. He hates my father so much. He hates him to the point where one of my other friends, Dominic, who I will also be inviting on the podcast to be determined when that happens. My friend Dominic also hates my father for how just brainwashed he was and how that ruined my friendship with Dominic and how my father did nothing but guilt Alex about the stuff that he was feeling. Oh yeah, like Spectra, this is This is gonna happen every Sunday, and I upload the VOD to YouTube in case anyone misses it. The yeah, yeah. So my parents, they reacted pretty bad to me leaving, but also could have been worse. Thank you for sharing that. That was a really long story. That was almost a half hour's worth of just saying no. They reacted negatively. Now we're basically out of time. It has been over 2 hours. So I'm going to ask these next questions and just answer them as quickly as you can. Abbreviate, summarize your answers to these next questions. Can you do that? As best as I can. All right. So the next one is, how shocking was the change or adapting? Ow. Well, there were a lot of things that happened to me that were firsts within this year. Like, I grew up so much just from having all of these firsts happen. There was like being offered sex for the first time. That's another story I'm not willing to talk about. That also happened for the first time. I got scammed. I almost got scammed on the internet. I learned you cannot trust because everyone absolutely is not who they say they are. And like, I kind of just learned that there are so many good family and bonding experiences you can have between friends, between family. So many things that they just didn't do or enjoy just because of Bible beliefs, and it was annoying. It was terrible. All right. Next one. Friendships. What are your friendships like? Well, can I see that hat? Yeah, sure. Go ahead. Here you go. Thanks, buddy. I think it looks better like this anyway. So, so my friendships were not the best. I didn't have any lasting ones, and the ones that I did have that were local and somewhat lasting were dog water. They sucked. They flaked on any of the good ideas that, or at least the fun ideas that I had that required commitments in the past, like the podcast that I talked about, that just never happened, and the Unions and Masterminds group that I wanted to get together just didn't happen. And that was from the advice I was given to, if you're so lonely you want to do something with friends, start organizing stuff yourself. Get people together. And that's when I was kind of complaining about no one invites me anywhere. And if they do, it's very rare. And I feel left out and lonely. And so when I finally did start trying to put shit together, it just fell apart every time. So I ended up just being by myself very, very often. Right? And it sucks. Like, I wanted to hang out with people. I really did. I wanted to have a good time with friends, and it just never happened. So I had to start kind of just learning how to have fun in my own special ways, just by myself. And I have a lot of those stories too, but that's for another time. Simon, who I talk about very often, is, well, not very often, but he is the notorious. He is the standard for how shit my close associates were in that organization. But again, because of time, I will go on to that probably during a Just Chatting stream, or maybe even next week when this is brought up again, because that itself is another long story.
You know, you didn't have to insult the way I was wearing my hat at the very beginning of the whole thing, but that's fine. It's your show. No, it's my show. Whichever one it is. All right, we have three more to get through. Three more. Dating in the organization. What was that like? Do you remember what that's like? Well, I never dated it within the organization. Didn't have a girlfriend. I I came really close to it once, but it just didn't work out because I got rejected. The time I got rejected, I did things exactly as a good Christian would. I was very active in the congregation by like regularly commenting when there was a question and answer thing. Um, I had an assignment nearly every meeting. I showed up to every meeting. Um, I went out in the ministry every Saturday. I led the meeting for field ministry on Tuesday mornings. I did everything just so. And eventually, Simon's sister, his little sister, Caitlin, we had all grown up with each other, so I got to know them. And very slowly, she just started like hanging out around me more often and talking. And so I thought those were signs that like, is she getting to know me better because she's interested? Question mark. And so one day I popped the question. I'm like, hey, I'm interested in a future with you. And those are my exact words. I'm interested in a future with you. Do you want to like? Do you mind if we like talk about this sometime to see if like this is doable? No, I didn't ask that question. That's all I said. I said like I am interested in having a future with you. And so she was like, "Can we meet another time to talk about this?" So I was like, "Yeah, sure, absolutely." And we planned for next week on a Saturday, or was it a Sunday? I think it was a Sunday after the meeting. We were going to meet with two other people as chaperones, basically almost a double date. The chaperones were my friend Evan and his wife. And it was pretty awkward since all of us are introverts. A lot of long silences because none of us knew what to talk about or what to say. So it was a lot of awkward silence at first, and then when conversation picked up and I felt ready to talk, I scooted my chair over next to her, and we talked in a little bit of a hushed way because I'm still embarrassed. And so, long story short of that part, she felt she was just a little too young, like at 19, being freshly an adult. She still wanted to do things while she was still single, before she was ready to settle down. And I'm like, you know what? Yeah, witnesses, Jehovah's Witnesses especially, because you're not allowed to date, or it's not acceptable to date until you're 18. There are a lot of young couples that come out of Jehovah's Witnesses. A lot of them, even just dating, not even marriage. Like my big brother, he was 21. There was a little bit of an age gap, but he was 21, and his girlfriend was 18, turning 19 when when they even got married. It's like it happens. Unfortunately, quite common. It is what it is, Spectra. Everyone has different experiences at different times. But so I was like, you know what? That's actually really understandable. However, I did wish you didn't drag this out for a week just to tell me no. I would have preferred having the band-aid ripped off instead of a big build-up to a big letdown. And I remember throughout that whole week, I kept praying, like, God, help me. You gotta help me out. I really, really want this to work out. It just didn't work. Wasn't God's will. So I took that out pretty bad. But unfortunately, it's a little bad to say this, but that was like, it didn't work out with Ashley, who just ghosted me when I wanted to try to start talking about possibly a future together. She also saw that I was doing good in the organization, so I was like, Ashley, can we I think I'm ready to start a future. Would you mind if we talk about this together? Can I start my future with you? Can we do that? And I got no response. So I waited a week, and I was like, I get it if you're busy or if something's up, but at least tell me so that I'm not waiting for an answer. Just tell me it's not a good time right now. That is all I need. And I got nothing. So I waited. I think I might have waited another week for a response and got nothing. And I was like, I just straight up just let her have it, kind of, in a very professional way. Even just now is not a good time would have been okay. This just hurts. That was not cool. And I still didn't get an answer. So I waited for a month to go by, and still nothing. And I just moved on. And Caitlin was unfortunately, the next option. I hate to put her as number 2, but that is unfortunately where it landed. So I gave it a genuine try. I really, really tried to do things as the witnesses want you to keep things clean, to keep things kind of, I wouldn't say professional, but just keep things clean and simple and innocent. And it just didn't happen. Didn't work. And that's just my experience in dating. And I know for sure there are definitely worse ones out there. That, I wish you'd taken 5 minutes to tell that story instead of 10. You're the one who asked me the questions. I know, and I regret it. Anyway, 2 more. You know what? I'll skip the second to last one. We'll just go to weekly routines. What was your weekly routine like? And then I will end it there. Alright, last but not least, my weekly routine. Being a Jehovah's Witness is a full-time job. It's a part-time job on the weekends, is what I meant. So out of my work week, I worked only 3 days. I worked part-time. I worked only 3 days, and my father was not charging me rent. All he was having me do was pay for car insurance and my part of the phone bill. That was it. So I worked 3 days a week on Wednesday through Friday. That's when I worked. Monday, I had the day to myself. Both my parents were gone, and I had therapy that day. And I did not want either of them to be there for therapy because obviously it is about them. So I had Monday, a day to myself. Tuesday was basically I lead the meeting for the ministry over Zoom in the morning. And then we have Zoom ministry, which is just letter writing and talking with a little bit of a break. Which that just unlocked another core memory I'm going to talk about another time. No, I'm gonna forget it. All right. I used to. What they frown upon in the organization is not doing daily Bible reading. So as soon as I got past the Old Testament into the New Testament, I started reading not only the chapter, but also the study notes from the organization about some of the scriptures in there, like either something about meanings or the history behind some sort of event that happened. And on Tuesdays, I would pick out just one to share. And those were my Tuesday treasures. Always at around 11 o'clock is when I would share one, because 12 o'clock, that's when the ministry is over and we all go home. By that, I mean log out of Zoom. So, I read the Bible that much. Every day, I read a chapter, and then afterwards, I would read it. I think the next day, I would read the study notes for it. And that was part of my daily routine, and I hated it. I definitely ended up slowing down at some point because I just got really depressed or just really distracted about something. I don't remember what it was. But yeah, after a while, it was a struggle to have something new every week. But that was Tuesday, then Wednesday through Friday, I had work. Saturday was going out in the field ministry, so door to door, knocking on doors on Saturdays from like 9 p.m. to 12. Then the rest of the day we had to ourselves. And Sunday was the day of the meeting. Now, the meeting technically is like an hour and 15 minutes total on Sundays. Oh, yes, me too. It's so much better. But, so technically the meeting lasts like an hour and 15 minutes on Sundays, but it's normally like a 3 hour event of, like you get there early to either set up for the meeting, make sure all the audio stuff is working, and then you have the meeting, and then you have afterwards where everyone's just talking, and I just want to go home, but I can't because my father drove me here and he talks for fucking ever. You know what? That's good. That's a good rate. Only 2 a year. That's fantastic. I'd hate to live in a thickly settled Jehovah's Witness even state. I can't stand them anymore. Mm-mm. Did with consent? I like the idea of like, hey, hold that pose 1 second. Okay, all right, good. I bet you they probably pushed the new world on you, and how everyone will be like, everyone will be healthy. There will be no such thing as sickness in that world. You know what? That's kind of valid. Because even I back then had like, I loved DJing. Even though I didn't like DJ in public, I just liked the art of it, and I would get Sweetwater magazines in the mail for like this week's deals, and I would just sit there and drool over the DJing decks section. So I love my Newmark, but I also would love a Pioneer with so many more like knobs and 4 channels and more effects options. But anyway, that's beside the point. Oh, I guess that makes sense. Um, but yeah, I couldn't really have much of a life outside of the organization just because of how much time I had to spend to it. I had to spend in it. Like playing video games for a hobby, can't let it overtake too much of it. Otherwise, you'll end up not reading your Bible as much, and people will look at you funny because of that. Can't get too popular on Twitch or DJing on Twitch, because then it'll go to your head and you'll just fall into bad habits and find bad people to talk to. Just stuff like that. And it's suffocating. It really is. And that was it. That was my daily routine. Work. Well, I also every day I'd get home from work, I had a little bit of time to myself, so I normally eat afterwards, and then I just take a nap because I was just that depressed. Take a nap after work, then go up to my room at 7 o'clock, and then go up there for vaping and hanging out in the chill channel. That was after I met the Outcasts. Mind numbing kind of, exactly. That's the name of my Discord, Suffer in Silence. It's all I did while I was in that organization. It is all I did. I could not tell anyone about it, because then they will immediately be like, you know what, maybe we should like sit you down and talk to you about scriptures to read when you're feeling like this. Forget about talking about this to anyone. Read these scriptures and pray about it, and you'll feel better. I can guarantee it. And if you think nothing but the organization and how much God loves you, and how much the organization loves you, because we're one big fucking family, you'll be okay. It's just, I hate it. I hate it so much. But, big but, that is it for me. I have finished with the stories. Take my hat back. So, that's it. Thank you for coming on the podcast and sharing your stories for the past hour of life as a Jehovah's Witness. It sucks. It really does. It sounds terrible, doesn't it, ladies and gentlemen? Thank you, Kat. That is also the other reason why I like streaming, and I like also doing just chatting, or I end up just like scrolling through my Google Photos and talking about shit. It's my way to enjoy streaming, but also getting to share my stories with people. I have a lot of them, and just they pop up when I'm really high. But anyway, that is it from me. We are going to raid into the Light of Saddles, DJ Satellite, Sadie, who's been there from my beginning. Where is Sadie? Okay, there he is. Oh, perfect. I hope you guys like house music. That's what he's playing right now. Oh, that's where no, that's auto mod. Mod actions? I don't know. Anyway, I'm sorry, I got distracted for a second. Yes, Sadie. That is a very wholesome way to say that you like house music. It was really good. But anyway, again, that is it for me. Thank you so much for being here. And thank you, Sky, for agreeing to be interviewed on the Suffer Out Loud podcast. Any last words? No, I'm okay. All right. Goodbye. Goodbye.